hear the tigers, but I could feel the elephant running. Evidence of elephants walking around in the jungle is it piled everywhere. But again, very, very interesting. So this is where we all came from, right? The most beautiful landscape. If you like walking around in the Taman Tugu park, you would love going and spending time in the rainforests. And contrary to popular belief, there are no leeches, there are no mosquito grace. So when they have vanished, there's no contrivance on earth that can bring them back again. And that's true. Once we lose our rainforests, once we lose our million years old, right? It is older than the Himalayas. The Himalayas is only 55 million years old. So you can see what an amazing place this can be if you were to explore, right? And we're blessed in this country because we don't have natural calamities. We don't have earthquakes, we don't have hurricanes and tornadoes. We don't have all these things. So a lot of our areas in the country have been preserved. We just have to go look for it. So this is one of the pictures that I took. Yeah, unfortunately, this part of history is not taught in our schools. So we need to remind ourselves, remind the students, say, hey, look, we come from an ancient land. It's so ancient, all right? Go to the highest point. If you can't get on a helicopter or a plane, go up, walk up a hill, go up to Mount Machinchang, to Gunung Raya. All these places you'll be able to see views like this. And I'll show you some areas here in KL as well where you have beautiful, stunning views. So you can actually see the light of God coming through. It's very, very beautiful. Fascinating. I was flying in a Cessna about 15,000 feet, and I shot this picture. The Cessna has got wings above the plane and not below, like some planes. It's a propeller plane. And what's fascinating is the view that I was able to get looking at this, at the main range. That's the Central Forest Spine. You can see how the river is nicely picking up the light from the sun, from the sky. It's absolutely gorgeous, right? And this is in Atadapai as well. Okay, anybody want to guess where this is? Any guesses? Come on. No? 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 West Malaysia. This is just 5 minutes from here. I kid you not. Bukit Tabor. 5 minutes from here. Come on. Have you seen it? I know a friend of mine who lives nearby. Okay, 5 minutes by helicopter. Yes, that's right. Okay. Tuba, Pulau Tuba, all right? It's an uninhabited piece of island, and every time I look at this picture, I picture myself in this boat, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful beach. I actually got off, went in there, we landed, and I went on that beach. It's pristine. There's not one piece of plastic bag or anything. Oh, it's just so clean, and it's such a treat. All right, to see this in our Malaysian beaches, because very often we have so much of garbage washed onto shore, and we're going to come to that later. All right, last song. It's a flat hill. This is flat top here, so it looks like a batu lesung. You know the what do you call the stone that you use for grinding your spices? That's right. This used to be a forest reserve, and then it was cut down, and then it's now been designated as a forest reserve, and they're doing a lot of replanting happening now in the country. This is a picture that I took from a helicopter about 5,000 feet, right? This is what you call a lenticular cloud system, where if you were to look at it from above, it is circular. You can actually see its clouds are going this way. But when you look at it from the side, you can actually see how the wind is blowing. All right, and can you see it from there? All right. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see how these rivers meander through the entire area. And this is so important because this is where all our fish come from. Fly when again, this picture is taken just about dawn, just showing what we do. My next book is coming out pretty soon. It's called Sacred Currents. Sacred Currents is about all our rivers in our communities throughout the country who have lived by rivers and how important it is for them. About to happen, well, actually happening already. This is a very interesting, very important part. This area is a flooded forest. It's not natural, right? The flooded forest, and this area was flooded so that would have hydroelectric power, right? And unfortunately, for a lot of people who live in this area, they still have no power. And this is mainly the Orang Asli Jahai, the indigenous group. So here it is. You would see this every day, right? And it's absolutely stunning. Again, another view of the. And you can see how there's a change. The colors change. Now, I'll show you some more pictures in color later about how our rainforests in the country here actually have seasons as well. But I'll show you. Like this tree, you can see how because of excessive tourism, now tourism is sometimes good and sometimes not very good, and you can see how because of the number of boats that go very close and go too fast, you have erosion happening and the roots of the trees have been exposed, all right? But it's such a beautiful shot. And when I went back there 3 months later, this tree had fallen in, it's gone. So, yeah. These are some of our waterfalls, which are so important. This is what feeds all our rivers. Again, another view of our mangroves. So you have these things here, they are mud flats. And this is where migratory birds, they're flying from Russia all the way down to the other part of the world. They see these and they come down. This is a source of food. There's a lot of small fish. They're attracted to these mud flats. And they come here, they feed, and then they fly off again. So, there's an entire ecosystem that supports the wildlife in this country. All right, so we have come to the people who live within these landscapes, our Malaysians, right? And they are, this is a boarding school in the Lower Baram River in Sarawak, right? It's made up of the Lun Bawang people. The Lun Bawang people live in this place called Bakalalan, which is in the border of Sarawak and Kalimantan. This man on the right was a headhunter. He recently passed away. He had taken 15 heads, very proudly told me. And of course at that time it was all accepted. It was a sign of, being brave and supporting and keepers. We were looking after the lawn in the hotel I was staying in. And they were immigrants, they not directly, but 3 or 4 generations earlier, their parents had come and settled in Pahang, and they work in the tea estates, and they are there now. And on the right is 2 women, who actually reminded me of my grandmother because of the clothes that they were wearing, of Thai descent. They live in Taiping, and they work in the Buddhist temple there, right? So, and on this planet where tin was mined within the cavities of a cave, right? Really very interesting. There are fascinating stories about this. There's a book that's being done right now that I'm doing and it's going to be published soon. So it's about this amazing place called Kaki Bukit. You might know it as Gua Kelam. So if you're going to Perlis, it's about a half an hour's drive from Kanga, city of Kanga itself. Good time controlled by Thailand, and then back to Malaya, and back to Thailand. So it went back and forth. So the people around this area speak Thai as well as Malay quite fluently. As a Penan, the Penans are normally nomadic, right? But this particular girl has recently married, and she now lives with her husband in a settled Penan village. They don't go on fire. So fascinating. Again, you have these women with their earrings, right? A fascinating story. I was sitting down next to this. I was in the museum in Sarawak, and this lady here. Look at her hands. She's got these lovely tattoos, right? And also her neck. You'll see a tattoo. And that denotes sort of a high-ranking royal family, sort of. She's a Kaya. And so I was in the museum, and I was looking around, and I was waiting for to come out, and I saw her, and so I went up to her and said, "Look, you have a beautiful tattoo, can I take a picture of you?" And she says, "Okay, but wait." And she reaches into a handbag, and she puts on the earrings, and then she said, "Now you can take a picture." How her family is moved all over the world. Yes. This is a family of Orang Jahai, the Jahai tribe in Royal Balloon National Park. Again, a nice family. The mother was quite ill, and she was in her room, and so the father took on the responsibility of looking after the children. And that's something that happens, it's very common in Orang Asli communities where there's a shared responsibility. Right? Before, they had a ceremony to ward off evil spirits in the village. So they were all set up, and you can see all leaves hanging from the roof and some medicinal herbs. And they were about to start this function, and I was very privileged to be allowed to photograph this particular function here. And of course, kids everywhere, they have a fantastic time in the rivers. And then we have what's happening today. In fact, it's been happening for the last 50 years. Logging and monoculture, and how that's creating habitat loss, right? So this image, again, was taken 2 weeks ago in the main range, right? And this is how it used to be, and still is. In many areas, you can see what a primary forest looks like, right? Right. It was taken from the air. Colors here as well. Except that this didn't happen all at the same time. It happened, each tree does it on its own, in its own time. So when you look at this from above, you can see how the colors change. And tomorrow if you go to another section, you'll see different trees shedding and then turning color as well. And these are logging tracks, right? Illegal logging tracks. So somebody with a little four-wheel drive or something goes in there and slowly create these roads, and then they cut down the trees, and then it just starts a whole series of landslides, right? So when you have floods with huge logs floating into the city in the rivers, you know how this is caused. But a lot of illegal logging happens, all right? So, you know, everybody will tell you palm oil is bad for you. It's not, right? So if you look around and you read enough material, you'll understand why this has got everything to do with the economy rather than the actually health. Right? All right, so when all this happens, you also have communities, right? They dump their garbage there, and a group of Orang Asli villagers who were displaced from the original place of where they were born because of land grab and all these things that happened, They had to move, and so they found this place where they could come and make a living scavenging from garbage that was thrown away. Right? They live and they use water from a stagnant pond. Right? They use that to bathe. They use that to water their clothes. They use what, and on the right, you can see how this little tiny bit of water here is all they have for their drinking needs. You know, and they have to boil it. So I work with a few different NGOs, and these NGOs go in there and help them with water purification devices. They go there and help them with power as well, solar panels to them. And this is how they live. These are not homes, they're just dwellings, right? It's terrible. And this is all because they have been here. It's just almost disappearing in the garbage. Right? And you can see she knows exactly what to do. So they're given these huge bags, much larger than them, and they fill it up with stuff that they can recycle. I'm sure a lot of you recognize this t-shirt. Right, and this is what was happening throughout a lot of these Orang Asli villages. They've given these clothes and these t-shirts. Right. There was garbage from Japan and Australia that found its way into our shores. Someone has been importing this garbage. I think this issue was brought up some time ago, right? And this is what's happening. 4 years old. 4 years old. And they were able to pull this mattress out of the garbage pile of garbage and sell it for 10 ringgits. Right? But this is what's happening. I came back home every day crying because I couldn't just take looking at this. Right? And with the help of my friends in the newspapers, we managed to publish these pictures, and we got some help, and we got NGOs in to try and help them. Now it's terrible. So how can we help, right? We have a role to play here, all right? How many of you are able to help you? Now, the thing about helping indigenous people, if you got to ask them what they want, don't assume that they want what you want. And the other one is the Center for Orang Asli Concerns, run by Dr. Colin Nicholas. The Global Peace Foundation is run by Dr. Tay. These two people do amazing work with communities, and if you ever want to help in any way at all, contact them, because they know how you can channel whatever it is you want. If you have clothes, you have shoes, you have food that you want to give, they will actually organize it. Own food in the jungles with no fertilizers, with no pesticides. So it's fascinating how lives can change if we make some effort, if we teach them how, right? And it's no fault of theirs that they're the way they are, right? They have a very different way of living, right? They eat when they're hungry, they sleep when they're sleepy, which is what now in modern science is telling us. You should do that. Feel free to ask me. I'm here now. Any questions?
I have seen some of those pictures before, but it's always wonderful to see them again. You talked about working on another book on sacred currents. Where did you shoot for that? Is that Malaysia also, or Southeast Asia, around the world?
Sacred Currents is about our rivers in Malaysia, all right, including Sabah and Sarawak. Why this is important? Because we need to know where our source of water comes from. Look at how we need to change our attitude towards our rivers. Look at the West. You have a house that's built, it's always facing the river. In Malaysia, you find that houses at the backs face the river. So yeah, so the story, so this book is about rivers around the entire country, sacred currents, and we're going to be having an exhibition soon, and then of course there's going to be a book launch at the end of the year. Yeah, so it's all about rivers in the country, and it's all about communities, and there are essays being written by different people that talk and address some of the issues of water in this country.
Yeah, that was great. I came here for, I thought it was going to be about photography, but it was about photojournalism. So that's fantastic. But,
Thank you.
But you spoke about palm oil, and not that I want to dispute with you, but can you explain, because isn't it the case that the indigenous communities still get the space? But on the other hand, I hear that the orangutans can thrive in palm oil plantation. So can you just elaborate? I mean, people say it's no good, and yeah.
Well, ideally, I think that if we leave the rainforest alone, it's the best thing to do, right? However, we have to live in this country. Malaysia is not a very large country, and the areas where we can grow food is limited because we have a growing population. Right? So we have now a situation where the country depends on oil palm to earn a living, right? We need that. But we need to find the balance. I think that's what it's all about. It's about finding this balance where we can look after our rainforests and the inhabitants of the rainforest, be it orangutan or orang asli, all right? We need to have that balance. How do we have that balance? We need to create awareness. That question you asked is very important, right? So how is it? How are we going to manage this? Right? And that is where we have to work with government. We need to work with indigenous communities, and not just that. We need to work with the wildlife department as well. So all these people have to come together and try to work in a way where we can protect these animals. Right? The orangutans, I don't think they do very well in oil palming. They don't do very well, right? As far as I know, I'm not a wildlife person, but I photographed enough orangutans, and you can see they need forests, and the food source is in the forest, not in oil palm estates. Right? Every time we have we clear a piece of land for oil palm, for planting of oil palm, we displacing people, right? Because, for instance, tigers, they need 500 square kilometers for one tiger, right? In 1987, I photographed a tiger in the wild, right? It was a fascinating picture that I took. I've never seen a tiger in the wild ever since. But this is one of the things that in 1987, it was common. If I went into an Orang Asli village, they would tell me, "Oh, okay, tiger has come," and they could see the paw marks and everywhere. You knew they were there, right? You don't see that anymore. Only because the population is growing. In 1987, our population is about 20 odd million. We now have 33 million. Where are we going? We're moving outwards, right? And we are occupying land. And this is what's causing the problem, right? So, balance. We really need to find the balance. I'm not sure how, but we need to do this. We need to, recently, the Sultan of Pahang has allocated 100,000 hectares, 130,000 hectares as a tiger reserve, which is a fantastic thing, because that will really, really help regenerate the forests, the prey that's needed for the tigers as well. And then of course there's fire. And then we have also used Orang Asli to help manage these forests. So we're trying to get all these things together. Yeah, so it's a slow process. We are a very young country. We're a very, very young country. We don't have a lot of experience, but we have to learn, and we have to do this quickly, right? So awareness is so important. Right.
Can I make a comment, not a question? A very quick one. I remember Dr. Jane Goodall did a similar helicopter ride in Tanzania, and she looks at Bombay. That's where the chimpanzees are protected. So the chimpanzees are very safe, but all around the reserve area was where all the logging and all the barren land happened. And that's when she realized that even human beings need to be taken care of. Because if the human beings will be logging and destroying the forest, the animals too will not be safe in future. So while we talk about protection, don't underestimate the ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you.
One more
Yeah,
question.
yeah, sure. Any more questions?
Hi, one,
Yes, sir.
actually I have three, but you
Yeah,
can-
sure. 3 is fine.
So amazing repertoire from wildlife to portraits. I think my first question would be, how did you start, as in picking up the camera, and how did you actually pick up photography? And then the second one would be, I understand that portraits are not easy to do. How long on average do you speak to the model or talent before taking the pictures? And I think congratulations and all the best to you both.
Thank you.
I
Thank
forgot
you.
the third question.
All right, it's okay. It'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, I started photography as a hobby, of course, as a kid. You know. So my uncle gave me a camera and I started going around taking pictures. But I did not pursue it as a career till after university. I actually read law, but I never practiced. I just did just reading law. That's it. All right, very different. All right, so how I got into photography was really because I wanted to tell my story, and this is, I think every journalist will tell you that. There's this burning need to want to tell your story and to tell your story in your way. Right? And so photography is a very powerful medium through which you can do this. Very powerful medium, right? Without so many words, you can reach out to so many people, right? And it's a language that you do not need to understand. You can just look at it and you can so I joined a newspaper immediately after university, and I began to work for the Star newspaper, and then went on to work in different newspapers around the world. But what's interesting is when I was in the in the newspapers, you get thrown into the deep end, right? You end up doing everything, right, from portraits to sports to this and everything else. So you sort of learn things, and then you sort of find something that you're very comfortable doing. So I really love people. I love photographing people, and there's a certain connection that you have. So when you're talking about ethnographic portraiture, it is really about trying to sit down with a person. You're talking to them. I hardly ever take out my camera and point it at their faces. Most of the pictures I take are taken on the hip. I just pre-focus and I take a photograph. If you're a photographer, you know what I'm talking about. Pre-focusing is knowing the distance between my subject and me. I look at the light, and it's all done manually. There's nothing automatic about it. Though you can do it now automatically, and it will get the same results too. So you pre-focus and you quickly take out the picture before the person even realizes that you've taken the shot. Right. So you want to be candid when you're taking these pictures. Now there are times, however, when I sit down with them and I'll tell them I'm going to take your picture, and I start to talk to them. When you start to talk to them, you start to engage with them, and then they open up. And at a certain point when you're doing this, something clicks. Not just the camera, something within you clicks. And then that's it. We take that picture. Right? And normally I only have one or maybe two pictures at most. That's it. And that's it. And that's how it is. We start taking pictures. Right? So so it's a fascinating process. Right? So if you want to become a good photographer, you must add this. Study sociology, study anthropology. These two things, so important. I wish I had done that instead. Because sociology and anthropology will teach you about people, teach you about how they live. And that becomes a very powerful thing for you to know.
I just remembered.
One more question?
No, I just remembered the question.
Yeah, great.
Just very quickly, yeah.
Very quickly. Yeah, it's okay.
So I was going
I
to
say
say,
amazing stories that go with the pictures. Since you're up there in the air, have you actually shot videos as well?
No, I don't do videos at all. I have no idea. My son, however, is a video guy, and he studied film, and he does videos. And I learned from him. But really, I can't. It's just, even photography is too much for me. right? And to learn another thing at this age is too difficult for me because it's a completely different discipline, completely different. Okay, any other questions? No, because I'm already colored. Sorry, friends. The white people here. No, they went, they left. So, black and white is a fascinating medium. When you remove color, all you're left with is form and texture. And within those parameters, your brain is able to tell the story. You don't need to have, even if you take a word and you jumble up the sequence of the letters, sometimes your brain can read it. I'm sure you've seen that happen, you get it on Facebook and all that. It's true, because your brain is already pre-wired to be able to see these things and imagine the colors. Right, so yeah, that's how it is.
Right.
We had black and white films, so you sort of just learn to do that. Alright? I hope you enjoyed the talk. Yeah.
Thank you so much. The living legend, Mr. S.C. Shekar.
See, right?
You got a nice Fuji magnet. All right, next one, please.
So we are having a promotion now for our selfie printer. Original price is $799. Currently going for $749 because it's in conjunction with this, and also our 20th anniversary. 20th. Yeah. And the ink cartridge at 99 ringgit. Original is $149.